week 8 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleeper options this week. The first guy, Sam Engler, the Indianapolis Colts. Engler, he's out there in 88% of fantasy leagues. I know I'm still not going to recommend him as a start, but if you're in 2 quarterback leagues or a guy you want to stash on your bench and see what he does here, I think he could be decent. They got good weapons over there in Indianapolis. You got Jonathan Taylor and Hines out of the backfield. You got Michael Pittman. You got Alec Pierce, who's been doing great over the last few weeks, except last week had a down ball game for the rookie. And you got Paris Campbell, last 2 ball games, 23 targets in that time. So right here, they didn't like Matt Ryan over the last few weeks. He took a lot of hits. He hurt the shoulder over there for this Indianapolis Colts team. And right now, it's Ellinger's time to shine over there for the Colts. So with good weapons and probably an offense that's going to be even more faster pace with the youngster over a veteran like Matt Ryan. He's a guy that could be a sleeper option this week, and it's a good matchup versus the Washington Commanders. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season, so it wouldn't be a surprise if he could score 15 to 20 fantasy points. The next guy's Andy Dalton for the New Orleans Saints. Andy Dalton last week, I know a lot of garbage time in that ball game on Thursday Night Football at Arizona. I know he threw 2 pick sixes in that one, but you got to give him credit where credit's due. 37 fantasy points for Andy Dalton, 361 pass yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 in those, 21 yards rushing. And this week here, another home game for the New Orleans Saints. So last 3 out of 4 games now have been at home here. And this Vegas defense, they give up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. So I think we could see a shootout with the Raiders and the New Orleans Saints in the Dome in this one. So Andy Dalton, I know it looks like no Michael Thomas once again. Jarvis Landry out once again. But Chris Olave can make some plays, and Kamara can make plays out of the backfield. And even Juwan Johnson had a good connection with Dalton in last week's ball game, scoring 2 touchdowns. So Dalton in deeper leagues, or if you're in a pinch with the bye weeks here, or I would have Dalton this week as a sleeper option because of the good matchup versus the Raiders. And the third and final quarterback I have as a sleeper this week's P.J. Walker of the Carolina Panthers. So P.J. Walker, the former XFL player, made the NFL last season. They took him over there in Carolina, and we saw him get some starts last year. Obviously, he didn't do much. And this season so far, he's come in for Baker Mayfield. The last few weeks here, he's had a high ankle sprain week 6. He didn't do nothing to the tough Ram team, 60 pass yards in that one. And then week 7 versus Tampa Bay, not a great ball game, but solid still for fantasy, especially with the troubles at quarterback this season. 177 pass yards and 2 touchdowns. So right here, I recommended him as a sleeper this week. Available 95% of fantasy leagues, and he's got a good matchup on paper at the Atlanta Falcons. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. So Walker, I think he could have a decent ball game. I'm not going to say he's going to go out there and be crazy, but if you need a good sleeper option, I think Walker's a guy that could get you anywhere from 13 to 20 fantasy points. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers here for week 8 of the fantasy football season.